In this video, we'll discuss the difference between development and production environments. As you've learned by now, you can have multiple environments or versions of your code base and manage them all using a version control system like Git. A development environment is just what it sounds like. It's an environment where you code or develop new features or where you fix bugs. This is where you'll make all of your code updates. So when we say development environment, usually what we're referring to is the local environment on your machine. Here's the important part. Your local development environment will be different from the production environment. Nothing you do in development is going to affect the live version of your application. It might be connected to a local database, but that won't hold real data. It should also have separate keys and config files. On the other hand, the production environment is where your live application lives. This could be something like GitHub Pages or Heroku, or it might be something more on the enterprise level like AWS or Microsoft Azure. Wherever you decide to host the production version of your code, this is the code that users are accessing after all updates have been made and testing has been completed. Of all of the environments you might create, the production environment is the most crucial. Everything should be tested in your development environment and determined to be in perfect working order before that code is moved to production. Different organizations will handle the release of code into production differently. Some might allow certain users to get access to updates first. Some might make regular weekly releases, while others might make larger sweeping changes on an as needed basis. What matters is that your production environment has its own dedicated database and that it won't be connected to or affected by your local databases. Usually, a production database is hosted up in the cloud. For example, if you're using Heroku for your production code, you might use MLab for a Mongo database or JAWSDB for a MySQL database. Authentication keys and environment variables will be stored in your production environment or database and will usually be different from those used locally. So, in short, the local development environment is just that. It's local to your machine and it's used for development of new code, features, and bug fixes. The production environment, however, is usually cloud hosted and kept separate from your local environment. As a quick side note, many companies have an environment that sits in between these two, often called staging. The staging environment is a replica of the production environment and is designed to test changes made in the local environment. The idea here is that code might work in your local environment, but not in production. So this adds an additional layer of QA and security before rolling out changes to your users. And now, back to the lesson.